And welcome back, adventurers, to Let's Play ChäoS. In the previous episode, Takumi was busy having an online chat with his buddy and partner in crime, Grim of Ensu. Shortly after which, Takumi was contacted by a mysterious user by the name of Shogun, who was apparently following their conversation rather intently, seeing how it had something to do with the recent new-gen incidents that have been taking place in the city of Shibuya recently. However, Shogun seems to know more than he was letting on, and showcased a number of different image files pertaining to these incidents, and then signed off with a very ominous yet familiar phrase, at least familiar to Takumi. But now we move on to the next day. I glared at my self-titled minimum attendance shift chart. Yesterday I didn't get to watch Blood Tune in real time, but after that I watched it on YouTube, so it wasn't a real problem. That's the same, but, or shame rather, not the same, but anyway, that's the way the cookie crumbled sometimes, alas. Even after watching it, something still felt wrong. What Shogun said right before I closed the chat window. It was almost as if he'd seen through the fact that I'd cowed in fear of God's gaze. It was too much for a mere coincidence. Maybe my personal information was leaked on Insu. Maybe it was someone who didn't like Neidhart. I thought about the different possibilities, and the text is going slightly weird because that's how it is in the patch. It does that sometimes. A godlike existence like mine has many allies, but also many enemies. Too true. Well, the enemies were basically a kind of side effect of the popularity. Of course they'd be there. People who envied Neidhart's strength and popularity childishly tried to provoke me. It was just a matter of ignoring them. Yeah, it also does that too, where it doesn't finish the sentence there. But this was different. The fact that I had no clue who Shogun was worried me to the point where when I logged into Ensu, I couldn't concentrate at all on hunting. And Shogun basically translates, its equivalent is known as the General, as Shogun is referred to in the localized adaptation dub of ChäoS. On top of it all, today was
最悪の日だ。
There's only one day that could be. It was a school day. According to my minimum attendance shift chart, I had to go. Notice that school day is in capital letters. I doubt that has any real major significance, especially in the visual novel realm. I really didn't want to, but if I didn't go by my minimum attendance shift chart, my calculations would get messed up. And in the worst case scenario, I might have to repeat a year. That's not good, even for a recluse like Takumi Nishijo.
眠いのに。
But thou must. I fought off a yawn and trudged off to school. It takes about 10 minutes to walk from my base to school. My mood sank lower soon after I started walking. The streets aren't looking too bad. Then again, there are a few passers-by here and there. My body felt heavy. It was hard to breathe, and I started to sweat. It was always like this when I go to school. Why do I have to go to school? It's such a painful event. Muttering balefully to myself, I kept moving my feet forward all the same, head down watching the asphalt's white line. I entered Shoto Park. The school is right on the other side. Housewives took their morning walks, and salarymen sat on the park benches, or sat on the benches, reading sports newspapers around the park's pond. Could have gotten away with that there, but oh well. Even though Shibuya was so crowded and noisy, the park on the outskirts was quiet and perfectly fit the expression a place for relaxation. It does have a nice sort of antique garden feel to it. I sat down on one of the benches too. On the way to school, it was a habit of mine to eat breakfast while gazing at the surface of the pond brimming with serene water. It was a nice time of year, and the trees were gradually gaining their color. Today's menu was some breakfast bread I bought at a convenience store along the way. It would be enough to tide me over until night. I wouldn't normally eat lunch. No one wanted to eat lunch with a creepy otaku like me, and I had no interest in eating lunch by myself while everyone around me merrily ate together. So basically Takumi avoids the school cafeteria. Can get rather crowded in there. After finishing my cream-filled bread with some coke, I gazed listlessly up at the sky. Somehow, the skies of Shibuya always appear drab. It doesn't matter what season it is, the sky doesn't change. It looks to be a fairly cloudy-looking blue at the moment, although I imagine it probably gets a bit dusty and grey. My parents' house was only a few stations down along the river, but there's this distinctly different feeling between there and here. That said, I kind of liked the dullness of the sky, although I really didn't know why. I glanced at my watch to check the time. Better not be late, Mr. White Rabbit. If I didn't get going soon, I'd be late. I had to avoid that at all costs, otherwise we might be beheaded by the Red Queen, if there is one at Suimei Academy. As someone who only goes to school 2.5 times a week, I couldn't do anything to make myself stand out. That pretty much would make you stand out even more, actually. In any case, it was important just to be there, kind of like the air. To safely and peacefully make it through the day without catching the eyes of the teachers or any delinquent types, and without having anyone interfere with me. That was the goal of my school life. So basically we have to be a ninja. Except that Takumi has no experience of ever being a ninja. I attend Suimei Private Academy, quote unquote. It doesn't have much of a history. I hear that it was founded about 10 years ago. And that was a bell. You can hear that chiming faintly in the background there. And lo and behold, there are a lot of students heading in through the front gate. The building is neat and trim looking, and a lot of TV dramas about teaching is shot here. That's interesting. The uniforms were apparently designed by a famous designer, so quite a few girls are airheads who entered the school just because they wanted to wear the uniform. You know, they could just buy them from one of the local clothing stores and just wear them that way. It's ostensibly a prep school, but the percent of people who continue on to college is at the upper middle level. Hilariously enough, they use the blurb, "a free creative school atmosphere," as a selling point for new students, regardless of the fact that the school regulations are very strict. Although the rules are in the process of becoming rules only in name, so basically guidelines then. Besides, it isn't entirely off the mark to describe it as a free creative school atmosphere, I guess. After all, someone like me, who only comes 2.5 times per week, can keep rising to the next grade like anyone else, as long as you don't inadvertently screw up your attendance chart there. As might have been expected, when I reached the front of the school, the other students on their way there started getting noisy. But since I'm not good with crowds, I hunched over as I passed through the school gates. In my heart, I went on fervently reciting, "No one talk to me, no one talk to me," over and over again. And the interiors have a nice sort of clean chic feel to them. My little sister, who's 1 year younger, goes to the school as well, but she lives with my parents. A day when I run into her is a tragic day indeed, and I think things will probably end up getting worse from here on out there, Takumi. If worse comes to worst. Luckily, today I managed to get to my classroom without encountering her and in one piece. I quickly took my seat so as not to meet anyone's eyes, not that they're actually looking at you. I had the feeling that the group of girls chatting nearby tossed me a look, but it was only for a second. Then they went back to their conversation without saying anything. Deep down they viewed me as a creep, no doubt about it. That might be one half truth, one half paranoia there from you there, Takumi. From my point of view, 3D girls are far more creepy. It's fine by me if they think I'm a creep. If they don't notice I'm here, all the better. If they just do that, then I'll go on living in silence without giving them any trouble. I often wonder what's wrong with the people who call me creepy. I don't get it. It's almost as if they want the attention of the people they're calling creeps. I was in my seat, just hunched over my desk, staring at its surface.
Yo, Taku.
When someone hit me from behind. Suddenly someone smacked me lightly on the back. That was not a light smack. It startled me, and I raised my head.
お前、今日って学校来る日だっけ?
And lo and behold, probably one of the only, if not the only, students to actually interact with Takumi.
Misumi-kun.
My classmate, Daisuke Misumi, was giving me a grin. He was pretty good looking and all the girls seemed to like him. Yes, notice that I didn't use the kun, honorific there, by the way. Because it can either be Daisuke-kun or Misumi-kun. Either way is fine. But also, his first name, Daisuke. Didn't we see that in the image link sent to us by Grimm? And, given his cheerful demeanor, it could very well be that this Daisuke Misumi might actually be Mr. Grimm himself, without Takumi even realizing it. But then again, it's a little too soon to tell, but perhaps that could be the case. He openly declared how much he liked women, and for him to say he was dating several people at once. From my perspective, he was the guy who jumped fully into delinquent territory, and I think you and I are finally on the same page at last here, Takumi. If possible, I'd have preferred not to have any connection to him at all, but...
相変わらず暗い顔してんな。ゲームのやりすぎで寝不足か?
You definitely took your time there with that appraisal there, but you're not wrong.
別に。
Of course, Takumi tries to give a denial. He was the only person in the entire class who talked to me, perhaps the entire school. I wonder why he always started talking. Our hobbies and personalities aren't even slightly similar. Forget the typo there, or the mistranslation. It had been on my mind since we became classmates this year. If, hypothetically, I were a girl, I would kind of understand, but being a guy, I don't know why you talk to me. And yet he does. And he's...
引きこもりだからしゃあねえかもしんねえけどよ。もっとこう、ハキハキ答えろって。
If I could, I'd have done so a long time ago. Good point. It was almost painful for me to talk to 3D human beings. Anxiety keeps my voice from coming out properly. Since I don't normally talk much, I can't articulate myself well through speech, and I shrink back because I'm scared I might say something stupid and be made fun of. I wish people wouldn't talk about stuff like they know nothing about. That makes that sentence not make sense. I think it's supposed to be, I wish people wouldn't talk about stuff they know nothing about. They have no clue how hard it is for me. Oh, but I'm no Hiko... That is a hard word to say. Hikikomori. A hikikomori is someone who shuts himself in his room 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. I'm different. I'm only a partial recluse, and believe it or not, there are actually real-world hikikomori in Japan.
女相手に緊張するならともかく、そういう態度されると俺らホモと思われるじゃねえか。
You better watch what you say there, El Homo. And yes, I threw in that random reference in there myself. Hold up, he doesn't really like girls and he's really into guys? He was being sarcastic there, Takumi. But of course he gets the wrong idea. In a hurry to put some distance between us, I pulled away. I almost fell out of my chair. Flustered, I had to grab onto my desk.
何してんだお前。
三角君はホモなの？
Told you to be careful of what you said.
え？なわけねえだろ。お前、俺の女好きを忘れたのか？
Well, of course, Takumi did kind of get the wrong impression from your words there.
だよね。ビビった。
ちなみに
I don't like that grin of yours there, Daisuke. Misumi-kun quickly checked our surroundings, grinned, and lowered his voice.
昨日このクラスの女子で3人目を落とした。誰だか聞きたいか？
Well, you're going to tell us anyway, so why even bother asking?
いいよ、別に。
だよ、もっと興味示せよ。田中だぜ、田中。
And that name means, wait, you, I'm suddenly getting a mental image of a middle-aged man with dark hair and a grey suit from Persona 3. Dancing to a very catchy, annoyingly catchy theme song. No.
田
Bad,
中っ
bad
て
idea.
誰？
Bad reference.
お前、もうすぐ10月だってのに、未だに同じクラスのやつの顔を覚えてねえのか？
So, it's just, well, it's beyond summer and into autumn.
ま、3次元に興味ないんじゃ、それも当然か。
But it seems that despite their differing personalities, Daisuke actually does understand Takumi's personality. Exasperated, he shrugged his shoulders and let out a quick sigh. However, up until the present, he never once belittled me for my hobby, that is the fact that I love 2D characters. He didn't call me creepy or anything. It wasn't to his taste, so he doesn't overstep himself. Looking at that side of it, he didn't seem like such a bad guy. That might have been why I unintentionally fell into conversations with him whenever he started talking to me.
これでうちのクラスの可愛い女はほぼ攻略完了だ。そろそろ隣のクラスの守備範囲広げようかって思ってんだよ。
Maybe he isn't that good of a guy after all. If the girls overheard this, I think they'd be appalled. Yeah, they might evict him from the classroom altogether.
D 組によ、めったに学校来ねえけど、すごくいい女がいるらしいんだよ。なんか、そういう、燃えねえか。あ、お前の場合は燃えるんじゃなくて、燃えだっけか？
I wish people wouldn't toss around the word moe without knowing exactly what it means.
ま、お前の興味ねえ話はそろそろやめるか。じゃあよ、ニュージェネの話知ってるだろ？
And that was quick. We've gone from light and fuzzy to new gen. Honestly, it surprised me to hear those words coming out of his mouth. I thought he was a person who didn't think about anything other than women. I couldn't picture him watching the news or reading the paper.
集団ダイブの事件さ。あれも噂によると殺人らしいぜ。
So he too has been following the new gen news.
へえ。
Although probably, he's probably just got a brief idea.
マジだって書いてあったんだよ、スポ島に。
Wait, it was in the sports paper? So his source was a sports newspaper. Wouldn't that make it completely unreliable? Why would the new gen incidents be reported in the sports section? Besides, I already heard that news, not that it caught my interest.
で、聞いて驚け。その殺人鬼が女で、しかもかなり美人だって目撃証言があんだよ。
Of course, now everything falls into place.
女。
As I watched Misumi-kun tell me this excitedly, the dots finally connected. I saw why Misumi-kun had suddenly started reading the sports paper, which he normally wouldn't have given the time of day. It had to do with a girl. I guess you could call this a natural development. Would he be cool with a murderer, so long as he was cute? Speaking for myself, I'd be okay if she was a 2D character, but... Misumi-kun cast his eyes at the blue sky beyond the window. His face took on a far-off look. Why is he looking like he just achieved enlightenment or something?
どんなやつなんだろうな、犯人って。本当に美人なのかな。会ってみて。
Just now, I became certain of the fact that this is a guy who lives solely through the lower half of his body.
俺だけは殺されねえ自信があんだよな。だってほら、俺ってかっこいいだろ。いくら連続殺人鬼でも、俺みたいないい男に会ったら、コロッと惚れちゃうぜ。
Well, Daisuke Misumi, if you're that into yandere types, then I say, why not go for it? That's why you won't get killed. The frivolity of his train of thought whooshed clear over my expectations. I reeled back from the Misumi-kun who proved himself to be able to say such a thing breezily and without hesitation. You might end up eating those words.
僕は興味ないから。
でもよ、興味ないっつったって、犯人は絶対この辺うろうろしてんだぞ。どっかですれ違ってたりするかもしんねえし。
Now you actually are scaring us. What if Misumi-kun were the killer? Daisuke Misumi? With this face? No. It's not even a consideration. No, I could certainly rule out that much, but I couldn't deny the possibility that it was one of the students here. That is a very realistic possibility. If that were the case, maybe I should say, I have post-traumatic stress disorder to maneuver my way into graduating even with insufficient attendance.
なあ、今日俺と一緒に殺人現場見に行かね。ここから歩いて行けんだってよ。まだ血とか残ってるらしいぞ。
That is not a good way of spending one's afternoon. I had absolutely zero interest in doing so. All I wanted was to peacefully and safely take my classes, hurry up and go home, greet my serotan, and return to the world where I can become a god.
もう小橋と長谷川は見に行ったって言ってたしよ。
The two other students have already witnessed it.
本当に興味ないんだ。
I felt bad for turning down Misumi-kun, who was getting so into it. But I couldn't go along with him for this. And, you'll actually notice that there is actually something that has, appeared at the top of the screen, albeit very, faintly. And, you can hear the sound of a, heart, or an electronic sound going on here. This is the key This is the key factor that makes ChäoS Head what this is. How to best describe this? This is a feature that is very similar to Rentaro Okabe's cell phone in Steins Gate and his smartphone in Steins Gate Zero. This is the interactive portion. Basically, it has to relate to the theme of delusions, especially the delusions of Takumi Nichijou himself. In the left-hand corner of top left-hand corner of the screen, there is a green line. The green ECG monitor refers to basically selecting that will allow Takumi to experience what is basically a positive delusion, whereas the erratic red ECG spiking in the top right corner will give Takumi a very bad delusion, and bad is of course an understatement in the world of ChäoS Head. Also, alternatively, you can choose to continue forward into reality, and Takumi will therefore not experience a delusion whatsoever, but instead focus on the reality that's presently in front of him. But that is going to be it for this episode of Let's Play ChäoS Head. And when we return, we shall see, or we shall choose exactly what kind of delusion Takumi Nichijou will be experiencing from this moment forward. As always, dear adventurers, until next we meet.